Hey everyone, Coach and Hoka Athlete Sage Canaday here with another Training Talk Tuesday. Well, it's coming out a bit late, but episode number 32 here. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to dive into your top voted question from last week's Training Talk, and hope you're doing well. Also, thanks so much to all the Patreon supporters again. Let's dive in. Question. My question is regarding running frequency, and it boils down to whether or not or to what extent the law of diminishing returns applies to the adaptation that I get from a single run compared a single longer run compared to two or multiple shorter runs. Do I get 50% more adaptation when I run 15 kilometers compared to 10 kilometers? Do I get more cumulative adaptation per week or per year when I run more often, with weekly annual mileage being the same? I assume that it is probably not that easy to answer because there are different kinds of adaptation taking place in different structures of the body, energy systems, etc. Also, different race lengths have different demands. For example, a marathon requires to develop some fatigue resistance that can only be trained during longer runs. Much love from Germany to you and Sandy, to you as well, and the whole VO2 Max Productions community. Yes, thank you in this community for following along on these training talks. It is a difficult question to answer directly, not gonna lie. And to answer that right off, no, there's not a 15 or a 50% better benefit to doing 15 kilometers versus 10 kilometers, right? That's like 6 miles to 9 miles. Even though you've added the mileage, it is, you get some more benefits for sure for going longer, but there's a law of diminishing returns, and I'm going to illustrate that actually, where, you start running higher mileage, you start running for longer durations per week, more time on feet as well, even at, we'll say, easy aerobic pace, conversational pace, nothing intense, but you start adding mileage, and there's an exponential increase of injury risk, right? Because you're doing more work throughout the week, there's more stress on the body. Whereas when you start increasing the mileage, so let's say you're running 30 miles a week or 50K per week, and you start running twice that amount, you start running 100 kilometers per week, 62 miles per week, you probably want to take a couple months to build up to that at least, maybe a couple years. A lot of people get really good benefits doing that. They get as long as you don't get hurt, or get overtrained, and you're not sacrificing your sleep too much, you get a lot of benefits. For a lot of people, they make exponential gains, increasing their mileage to that level. 60 miles a week, 100K a week, really good target for a lot of people. It's pretty serious training. You got to balance work-family life probably pretty significantly, and when you add in intensity, that throws more to the balance. But there is an injury risk with the increased time on feet, the increased stress, and if you're sacrificing a lot of sleep, there's a diminishing return. Now, diminishing return, we'll say, really comes into play. If we look at that graph again, when you start getting really high mileage, let's say 80 to 100 miles a week now, we're talking about pro-level training. A lot of pros don't even run over 100, 120 miles a week training for a marathon. These are full-time pros, right? Because the injury risk becomes very high, and the increases you get in fitness are kind of level off. They kind of level off. So, 100, 120 miles a week, 200 kilometers a week, you start getting up to like 140, 150 miles a week. I've hit that before a couple times. It was too much for me. And the risk of injury is quite high, stress, overtraining quite high. You're leveling off. You might actually regress because you're too tired and fatigued and you're not balancing it with good speed training, depending on what event you're training for. So that's the law of diminishing returns, so to speak, is that you kind of level off with the benefits. Now, you start spiking up, though, with the benefits when you start increasing a stress like mileage or maybe some other variable like having a well-balanced training program. So there are a lot of benefits down when you first do that increase from 50K per week to 60, 70K per week, or 30 miles a week, 40 miles a week, 50 miles a week. There's a lot more adaptations. Whether or not they're 50%, probably not, but it depends on the person. Even if you're getting 10%, 15% gains, that's pretty freaking good. That's a good improvement. But you have to look at it in a holistic lens, and this is what I've kind of preached, I guess, in other training talks, is that if you're looking at like economics too, the rules of economics, people face trade-offs. There's always an opportunity cost, right? So if you're sacrificing a lot of sleep, you're not resting and recovering as well, you might get injured or sick. If you're sacrificing family time, your family might not be very happy with you. They might add more mental stress. Sacrificing time at work, the boss might get mad at you, or you're not making, you're financially stressed out or something like that, or you're not eating healthy enough because you're sacrificing too much time. So it's always a trade-off with time and energy, and that comes down to individual things and lifestyle things for sure. So, there's an opportunity cost, stress, sleep, balance, right? But the frequency, the root of getting to the frequency and the idea of doing doubles or running twice per day, we generally recommend mostly doing singles, mostly running once per day until you get over about 100 kilometers per week or 60 miles per week. When you start running higher mileage than that, it becomes a good idea to have a couple 2-a-days sprinkled in there. There's some metabolic or adaptations that you could get with running in the morning and the evening, as well as balancing like strength training and high intensity training. But most people, it's not very efficient use of their time, right? Especially if you want to shower twice a day, or you're changing into your running clothes twice a day. To do 2 shorter runs, you get more bang for your buck in time efficiency by doing 1 longer run. Now, if you did 1 8-mile run, we'll say, what is that in kilometers? What is 8 miles about, babe? 12K, 13 kilometers. That's probably better than doing 2 4.5-mile runs, right? The 2 4.5-mile runs would total 9 miles, but if you did 8 miles all at once, or even 7 miles all at once, that would probably be better benefits, honestly. And for a lot of people, if you look at it as time on feet, the aerobic system, the adaptations you're looking for, fat burning, mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, increase in that density, blood flow, capillary density, metabolic shifts, glycogen sparing, you get over 60 minutes on a lot of runs. That's really good endurance stimulus, right? But even 40 minutes is pretty freaking good, right? It's good time on feet. 30 minutes is kind of the bare minimum for a lot of aerobic based types of runs. But 40, 60 minutes, you're really getting over that. It's a lot better. Now then you start saying, okay, well, 1 day a week I'm doing maybe a long run, and I'm getting over 90 minutes. I'm getting a 90 minutes to 2-hour range, 120 minutes. Then you're really talking about banking some really good aerobic adaptations. Now, it's also a trade-off with intensity. So if we're just looking at this in terms of easy aerobic base mileage, running once a day, building base, 60 minutes most days on average. You don't always want to be doing the same thing every day usually. If you want a well-balanced training program and you want to reach your potential, you're going to eventually have to mix in some quality work, right? And that's going to be a huge variable as well, types of hard workouts that you do. But, if you have 1 long run on average every week or once every 10 days where it's quite a bit longer, there's a good endurance boost benefit to that. There's a lot of benefits to running over 80 minutes, 90 minutes, even up to 2 hours, or if you're an ultramarathon runner, you're probably doing several hours, a lot of time on feet, maybe most of the day on a big weekend long run or back-to-back types of long runs. So, generally for most people, like I said, building that aerobic base is always key, and that's what I always preach in all these training talks. You could check out the library. But yeah, there is a level of individualization. There's a level of what event you're training for. You're going to need more intensity if you're training for a 5K or shorter race, 10K. You're going to need some long runs if you're doing a marathon or ultra marathon for sure if you want to reach your potential. But there are a lot of principles with building this aerobic base, being progressive in manner, and hitting, getting time on feet that is going to benefit all distance runners at pretty much all levels. How you change that out is really the key with specific training programs, but that's beyond the scope of this talk. Again, you could check out my whole library on here. We got a whole playlist. Check them out by events. Search on my channel different keywords if you're looking for a specific topic, and comment below for future training talk topics that you would like to hear about. I'm going to make sure I kind of answered this question and wasn't too vague there. But yeah, generally most people, you should run once a day unless you're getting over 60 miles a week, 100K a week. I've done talks on singles versus doubles. The adaptations are a bit tricky because, like I said, it really does come down to those individual things. Some of that's genetic, some of that's lifestyle. They blend together. Some of it's mental, some of it's physical. They blend together. But thanks so much for subscribing on here. Again, thumbs up if you like these types of videos. It helps me out a lot. as well as all the support on Patreon. Shout out to title sponsor, Hoka, keeping the dream alive, any service, any distance. Check out our training plans, Coach Andy and SL at higherrunning.com. We got some free resources on there as well. Give us a follow at Higher Running. Thanks so much. Hope you're doing well, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.